If you'd like to read along, visit shahnamehquest.substack.com for transcripts, illustrations, and bonus content. Hey, it's Arsalan. I wanted to take this moment to thank you for listening to Shahnameh Quest so far, and to discuss some of what we've gone through. There's been a lot of stories already with King Tahmures and Hushang and Qumars, and I wanted to make sure that we had some moment to let these stories breathe and interrogate a little bit and discuss how collectively they set up the early stages of the Shahnameh. Like I say, these verses are relatively small in comparison to the larger epic, so despite how vivid and rich they are, they're really there to set the scene for what's about to come next. So that's why I think it's a good moment to pause and appreciate just how much of a world Ferdowsi has already built, and connecting it to the creation of the universe and the cosmos through the innovations and advancements of human civilization on Earth. Already, right out of the gate, there is a unique and hugely symbolic connection that Ferdowsi has drawn between the divine and the human. By introducing the epic with his invocation and going straight into the first human and King Qumars, into this original dynasty of Hushang and then Tahmures, these are already setting up a moral framework as well as a narrative framework for the rest of the epic. Ferdowsi has also set up that this is a generational story, that dynasties and lineage, fathers passing thrones down to their sons or their grandsons, or inheriting legacies of the past and passing down new skills or worlds to posterity, is an essential theme of the Shahnameh based on these earliest scenes. We've also encountered the essential core theme of good forces in contrast and in conflict with evil forces through Ahriman the devil and his army of Deves, and the righteousness of King Qumars and Hushang and Tahmures. These set up not just the mythical and moral battles, but real, actual battles of humans fighting monsters and kings appealing to divine forces. It's really important to pause and acknowledge all of this, because we're entering into the turning point when these lines between good and evil, glory and moral failure, start to really texturize and take root in the next few stories. Things don't remain as simple as good kings battling demonic forces in the Shahnameh. It actually gets even more complex and intricate and nuanced and convoluted even at times. And the next story, the story of King Jamshid, is that pivot point. And you'll find out when we go through it why. So whenever I tell the Shahnameh, I always mark this moment to make sure people appreciate just how much Ferdowsi has infused this epic with moral depth and narrative framework and a generational motif that includes the complexities of legacy and the very fragile connection between good and evil, and how divine forces, if they're ever taken for granted or overlooked, can actually disappear and be usurped by evil forces. So that's what unfortunately is about to happen. Before we continue into the next story, the tale of King Jamshid, it's important to define a specific narrative device that Ferdowsi uses to underline a king's morality and grace and divine aura. In the Shahnameh, that is called far. It is what gives a king legitimacy in the eyes of God. And up until this point, Qumars and Siamak and Hushang and Tahmures have all led their people and the world with this alignment of divine glory as evidenced by their own far, their own kingly grace. It's important to define this because in the next story, you begin to see how far is not a given thing. That far is earned, and that if it is abused, it can go away. As strong or as smart or as talented as a king may be, they are not infallible. And knowing that will become very important because it is a critical plot point in the next story. So to summarize, you're starting to see how all of these themes are putting together a narrative and moral framework that will give a context and a vessel through which this epic will complicate and unfold. So, thanks again for listening up until this point, and now let's dive back in with the tale of King Jamshid. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it or leave a review. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more Shahnameh quests.